everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, March 30th, 2025. Yes, Traci is going to set the trap to catch that Martin or Alan or whoever he is. She's gonna catch the mad scientist, lure him back from Paris, back to Genoa City with a fake wedding, apparently, at the brand new Abbott Mansion, and we are gonna christen that place with some drama, definitely with some tears, and hopefully with an arrest. Ooh, a fake wedding maybe with Phyllis and Sharon on the guest list? I'm excited. Very, very excited. So this week, Traci comes into the coffee house for a double chocolate muffin. For Harrison! Just one for Harrison! And she runs into Sharon, and Sharon begins to recount the story of everything that just happened to her and Phyllis. And Traci starts putting together the pieces pretty quickly, really. Alan's strange behavior, the text messages, the mention of the clinic, and most obviously, the text message that came through to Alan's phone that was mentioning the gas. Traci saw specifically a text message that mentioned gas. So after that, it was pretty hard to deny the connection. Clinic, gas, gas, clinic, Sharon, Phyllis, Alan, clinic, gas. But Traci had her process to go through. It was remarkably quick, really. She didn't say anything to Sharon. She still hasn't said anything to Sharon. She immediately called Jack and said, Jack, I think I have made the biggest mistake of my life. And I mean, right up top, gotta say, I was so impressed and enthralled with those scenes because, I mean, having this nagging feeling that the love of your life is a sociopath might cause a lesser person to be in denial about the whole thing, or at the very least to be unsure of herself. But Traci knew something was wrong. She'd sensed that something was off, and she argued in favor of the thing that would be unthinkable. She argued in favor of it, even though that's not what she wanted the answer to be. You know, I mean, she could have gone, no, but no, she didn't. She felt it. And even when Jack tried soft selling the whole thing, like, well, maybe it's not true, she did not back down. She snapped back at him and said, no, something's wrong. I can't deny it. I won't deny it. Even when Jack tried to suggest that maybe he should be the one to deal with Alan from here on out. Jack wanted to protect his sister. She said, no. Jack was like, you shouldn't have any more contact with him. It's too dangerous. And she said, no, you can't protect me from this. I appreciate that you're trying to, but you can't. I have to do this for myself. I have to look him in the eye and find out. No one's going to be able to know this. We're never going to know who this is. They have the same, Alan and Martin, they have the same DNA. What are we going to do? Go back to Paris? I mean, the way that we're going to know is for me to look him in the eye. I need to look into his heart. I know this man. I'm going to draw it out of him. Like, no matter what, she understands there's a relationship there. She believes enough in the relationship that is there. So Traci's not thinking he's using me. She's not thinking the whole thing has been some kind of means to an end. No, she feels confident in the relationship that was built. She just doesn't know who the relationship was built with. This is so good. So good. I mean, heartbreaking, but good. And like, honestly, I don't care what the situation is. I love seeing more Beth Maitland. I think there was so much nuance to her performance this week. I feel Beth Maitland is really, truly a talented actress who knows what she's doing. There were so many little nods and just ways that she would tilt her head, inflections in her voice. She believed it. She was so professional. It was so convincing. And she was just really such a joy to watch. I mean, for as ridiculous as the whole engaged to his evil twin story is, Beth Maitland made it believable. She really did, and I'm really hooked. Honestly, for the past couple of weeks since the storyline came up, I was really hoping and assuming, really, that Martin only recently took Alan's place. I thought, okay, well, Alan went off on these speaking tours. Martin must have somehow survived, and he's taken over Alan's new life, and now Alan's being held hostage somewhere, and Martin has just taken over recently. That's just 100% where my head was, and I honestly wasn't really allowing for a whole lot of other possibility. My mind was just set there. But now I think, well, this is an even better, more heart-wrenching twist if she's been in love with Martin all along. That it was Martin that she first fell in love with. That it's Martin that she's in love with, period. And if Y&R can spin that so that Martin is not just the one-dimensional evil twin brother, that if they can convince us that the relationship there was real, but now he's off his meds, he's having these problems, then I think that's really good. That's really compelling. That's really something to talk about. Plus, if Sharon can be forgiven for shoving Heather's dead body into a river and framing Daniel for it, then I can forgive Alan/Martin or Martin and support their relationship as soon as he gets out of the loony bin. Almost as shocking as the Martin-Alan twist really is the brand new friendship that is forming for Phyllis and Sharon. Phyllis and Sharon have now been through something together that only the other one can understand. And so it makes sense that they are working through it together. It was actually Nick who suggested that. Phyllis was having a really hard time at the beginning of the week. It was hard to watch, honestly. She was lashing out all over the place. Later in the week, she actually lashed out at Diane, which was more entertaining. It was no real big surprise there that Phyllis would lash out at Diane. But she was to the point early in the week of lashing out at Nick and Summer, which is really unusual for her, especially given the fact that the entire time Phyllis was being held captive, what she was thinking about more than anything was her children. So the fact that she was lashing out at Summer was really, I think, speaking to how badly she needed someone. And strangely, it was Sharon. Nick suggested letting the ladies come together to talk through what they'd been through. And it started off a little bit rocky because I think Sharon wanted to be the therapist at first. She's not used to being on the opposite end of it all. She wanted to use her therapy knowledge so that all that knowledge she has about the amygdala does not go to waste. I mean, that is the word of the week, isn't it? amygdala. Am I even saying it right? Amygdala? Amygdala? No, it was amygdala. Who would have thought that word would have come up so much throughout the week, but it did. Definitely the word of the week. Amygdala. I got it. Oh. But then, as Sharon continued on her psychological train of thought, Phyllis did a really good job of saying, look, this isn't going to work unless you level with me. We got to be on the level here. So there was this great moment where Sharon said, come with me. Phyllis said, I need some fresh air. She wish I could breathe. I mean, she's clearly on the verge of having panic attacks. And she says, I can't breathe. And Sharon just pulls her outside. And then, per Phyllis's request, says, don't think too deeply about it. You said you needed fresh air. I'm taking you out for fresh air. So Sharon really volleyed back in that moment. Yeah, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you or me. Let's just go outside, talk this through. And then, after that, they went to Society for drinks, too. And they just kept talking about all of the things that happened in the cell, but all of the things that have happened to them all along for years. And it was such a really powerful moment when Phyllis said, she didn't say this to Sharon. Phyllis said this actually to Nick and Summer. Phyllis said that she felt like, in some ways, she had built sort of an identity around hating Sharon. She has hated Sharon so much and for so long that it's become this piece of her personality, this strangely consistent piece of her life. And now, if she doesn't have Sharon to hate anymore, then she's just not quite sure what to do with that empty space. And I thought that was very insightful. Sometimes we can hang right on to negative emotions and they end up defining us in a negative way. And Phyllis is really in the process of letting that go, which isn't easy, especially since it has to have been decades. I mean, they've been at war for 30 years, right? I mean, didn't they both just have their 30-year anniversary on the show? So it was a real pleasure, even more than I initially expected, just seeing them sitting there having martinis and then running into each other in public afterward. And Phyllis was at dinner with Summer and Nick, and Sharon comes up, and it's always a little bit rocky at first, but then Nick and Summer are just sort of watching them have these inside jokes together, and it's somehow comfortable. So they're in this healing process together now. Sharon, from talking to Traci, started saying, well, actually, wait a minute. Isn't your fiance, your boyfriend, isn't he a psychologist? He helped me with the hypnotherapy that she went through. I respect Alan. I trust Alan. Maybe Alan can help us get to the bottom of what happened to us. And so Traci kind of put it off a little bit. She said, well, I'll contact him for you. Traci's on her end trying to figure the whole thing out. But that was an interesting connection that Sharon was able to make, and she was able to share it with Phyllis. Sharon told Phyllis, well, hey, maybe that Alan Laurent can help us get to the bottom of this, help us figure out who it was that kidnapped us. I hope that Sharon and Phyllis are invited to this wedding. Because, oh man, I'm so looking forward to the Traci arc with Alan. But let me tell you, I am really looking forward to seeing Phyllis coming face to face with Alan or Martin or whoever it is. Because there will be no forgiveness. Phyllis will rip his arms off. So this week, Victor called Lily out to the ranch to tell her to not do business with that Damian, what's his last name? Kane? Kane? Is that what I saw? Damian Kane? Victor said, don't do business with that guy because he and Aristotle Dumas or Dumas, sorry, I guess you don't say, it's Dumas. I always keep seeing it written, Dumas. Damian and Aristotle are in it together, and guess what? They're trying to infiltrate Winter's Inc. all of a sudden. Even though there was no indication of that prior. Those two are trying to infiltrate Winter's Inc. Apparently, Victor was unable, or he was able to find out that Dumas set up some kind of shell company in Damian's name to make it appear that he owned a business. But all of that was just a cover so that Damian could approach the Winters family, even though it was Nate who contacted Damian with the job offer first. The whole thing sounds like a rewrite to me. I don't know if that's how you guys are feeling, but to me it's like, okay, well, this is a rewrite on top of a rewrite. I'm gonna let it go, but I just want to mention it. I'm not gonna hold on to that, but I wanted to mention it. Victor said that Dumas sent Damian some background documents on Lily and Devon like 3 months ago, before Damian ever even came to town. And so that's what his proof is, that it was all just a setup, that it wasn't all just random, that he was prepped and planted by Dumas, clearly with a hidden agenda to do something with Winter's Inc. What? I don't know. But next week in the previews, Lily is confronting Damian about it. Interesting that it's Lily confronting Damian and not Nate. Because Nate needs to get up to speed on this. Because if it is all true, then Nate was just a fool again. Nate was the one who let the Trojan horse in the door. And if that's true and the whole thing is a plant, then is Damian even Nate's brother at all? And if none of that's true, then the question is, if Damian's a plant, then is Amy a plant too? Like, is the whole thing a lie? I think this is an interesting question. I want to know this week for a poll if you guys think that Amy is in on this. I mean, it depends on how deep the betrayal is, how deep the lie is. Because if Damian and Nate aren't even brothers at all, then Amy is definitely in on the whole thing, right? But maybe not. I don't know. Let's do a poll on that. I want to know if you guys are still believing in Amy. YRChat.com. Do you think she is really sick? Is she being honest with all of this? Or is she secretly working with Damian and Dumas too? Billy received a phone call from Dumas this week. Very secretive. I mean, why would elusive billionaire be calling Billy Boy Abbott, who really has nothing to offer? Billy doesn't really have anything to offer. It feels like Dumas has everything to offer and Billy has nothing. All he's got is this new media business that really has barely even launched yet. I would think, he would have, be able to put together a more high-profile media rep. I just feel like Billy doesn't have anything to offer. That's the biggest red flag about all of this. And Sally, thank goodness, was able to ask him a whole lot of questions about it. But he was very, very dodgy. He was clearly trying to play it cool, acting like this is no biggie. I mean, I'm flattered by it, but don't get me wrong. It's whatever. He told her that he eventually told her that Dumas somehow knew about all of the drama that went down with Chancellor and thought that his mom gave him an unfair shake. Like, really? This guy called you for that? This guy called you to say he felt your mom? This elusive secret billionaire called you to say he thinks your mom gave you a fair shake? No way. But like, as soon as Sally left the room, Billy was on a phone call with Dumas saying, I got the quid if you got the quo, which I loved that line. That was a really fun line, fun moment. But apparently Billy's like working with a billionaire to take down another billionaire. Only in Genoa City. So many billionaires, you just fight them off with a stick. Sally seemed to understand that Billy wasn't telling the truth. I like that about her. I like that she was assertive with him and not fooled by him. She questioned him the first time. She questioned him a second time. No billionaire is going to do something for you without wanting something in return. Like, it feels like Sally was asking the questions that Billy wasn't able to. And I just wonder if this is signaling the end of the Billy and Sally relationship. Because it was too much dishonesty, too much tippy-toeing to bode well for the relationship. I think Sally wants the reformed version of Billy. Don't they all? She's just got done with Adam and all the revenge and all of it. She doesn't want this. Sally does not need this drama. She wants the Billy who is not revenge seeking, and that's not what she's getting. That's not who she's getting. And on top of it, Billy did lie to her, and he did also tell Phyllis all of this before telling her. Is that appropriate? What do you think? I mean, Phyllis is the business partner. Maybe that makes sense, but it just feels like there's a trust there or an expected understanding from Phyllis that he doesn't feel he would get with Sally. I mean, I don't know. I think that this might be enough to make Sally think twice about the relationship. She might just take her takeout elsewhere. And then, I don't know, maybe Phyllis will just scoot right into her place. Although not if Sally takes Chloe's advice from those previews for next week. I thought that was really fun. Chloe is advising Sally to just go get back into her devious Sally Spectra mode, get back to her devious roots, and just get Phyllis out of the way. That sounds fun. That sounds real fun, except Phyllis is so broken right now that maybe it would not be fun. But it feels like the writing's on the wall either way. Billy told Phyllis first what he did not tell Sally first, and which is apparently that Dumas is offering to get Chancellor back for him and to take the fall for the whole thing. No strings attached. That's the thing that doesn't make any sense, that Phyllis was trying to point out to Billy and Billy was just not getting. Yeah, Phyllis's reaction was definitely not supportive. I think Billy expected it to be, but Phyllis is not wanting to bother with any of this mess. All Phyllis wants is some job stability right now. She wants something to focus on right now. Honestly, I was expecting Phyllis to be somehow the one person who understands what Billy is aiming for, and thus driving a bigger wedge between Billy and Sally, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe Billy's just going to find himself alone on Revenge Island. And so the circle of happiness has been completed for Adam and Chelsea. They are back together. They are sleeping together. They are reunited with Connor as a complete family, and with the full blessing of the entire Newman family. Wow. Wasn't that something? All of Victor's children, except Abby, having a champagne toast to celebrate Adam and Chelsea's reunion. I was kind of surprised that they decided to announce it so soon. They were like, well, we slept together, so we better run on up to the ranch and make it official and tell Dad and everybody, everybody about the whole thing. If I was Chelsea, I would say no. I would want nothing to do with the family, and I certainly wouldn't run up there to tell him my personal business, because who knows how solid it even is anyway. But Chelsea is all in on Adam. She must have absolutely no reservations. The way that she was going to bat for him with Nikki and Victoria, talking about how much he's changed. All he wants is to be a better partner and a better father. The way she was saying it was just ominous, because you know she's going to end up having to eat those words. Billy's coming for Victor and Adam, and there is no way that Adam is just going to take it lying down. Adam is going to fight back. He is going to use Newman Media to do it, and it is going to get dirty. And Chelsea's going to be stuck in the middle, having to defend Adam to Nikki and Victoria, and probably Nick too. And of course, Victor's going to love the whole thing. Victor's going to be rooting Adam on to do anything he's got to do to get back at Billy. And it really, honestly, has the potential to absolutely ruin this new sense of calm and happiness that Adam has finally managed to grab hold of for himself. Kyle and Claire were just too wrapped up in each other this week, too wrapped up in the sheets this week to go to work. Hey, I get it. Go ahead, stay in bed, you two. Fine with me. Pillow fight, breakfast in bed. All that was fun. Just maple bacon. Sure. I like it. I approve. Kyle even asked Claire to bring some clothes over so she doesn't have to keep dragging her things back and forth. I thought for a second that he was asking her to move in to the Abbott mansion. It seems like he kind of is saying go ahead and bring some stuff over. It's not a full-on move in. But boy, wouldn't that drive Summer wild? If Claire moved in, I mean, even her keeping a few things there is going to drive Summer wild. But I mean, I feel like Kyle is going to ask Claire to move into the mansion soon. Maybe Diane can make some more magic closet space up here. Yeah, Claire's a good addition. Give her a permanent reason to be there. Jack is still reeling over the mansion redo. I mean, is this going to happen next week? Are we going to get the dramatic mansion / wedding / Alan stuff next week? Because, I mean, how long is Jack expected to wait to see his new house? There is absolutely no way that he has not been making up excuses to drive by the place or even stopping by the place. I'm sure he's like, ooh, forgot my shaving kit. He and Nikki had a talk this week that was really good. I mean, they talked about a couple things, specifically, you know, about Victor and what he did buying Chancellor, and also what Victor is trying to do with Claire and Kyle. Nikki and Jack definitely have formed an interesting alliance to try to help Romeo and Juliet have a happy ending. And next week, Lauren in the previews is telling Nikki that she needs her to go against her husband's wishes or do something about Victor. So I don't know. Nikki is really on the opposite end of everything that Victor is doing right now. She's there to foil him, apparently. But yeah, I enjoyed how supportive Nikki and Jack were of Kyle and Claire. I really appreciated the moment where Nikki and Jack got the text messages at the same time from Kyle and Claire playing hooky, calling into work on the bad clam excuse. Kyle had a bad clam. Kyle had some bad clams. I mean, seriously, I would say that Kyle had some good clam. Why is Y&R doing this to me? Last week with the cake, this week with the clams. Like, you're gonna throw that clam comment out there and expect me to not respond to it? Come on, Y&R, stop tempting me. I'm trying to keep this family friendly here. I've got a good quote for you. Who said this? If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. That's a good quote. If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. If you think you know who said it, you should go to yrchat.com and check your answer. Because I was like, ooh, zingity, zing, zing. There's a good line. Well, let's get down to comments on the topic of Summer and Claire and Kyle. Well, Naomi says, Kyle is such a pretty-faced frat boy. Plotting to call in sick, really, Kyle? Pretty-faced frat boy. I would say that describes Kyle really well, Naomi. Diana says, is it mean of me to say that I can't wait to see Summer win back Kyle's affections, leaving Claire to eat dust? Sorry to say, I'm really enjoying the rivalry. Yeah, I think so too. Honestly, I'm rooting for Summer. In the who should win Kyle's affections race between Claire and Summer, I'm definitely team Summer too. And speaking of Summer, this is a really cool observation from Tony, who says, so how long has the new Summer been on? I just noticed today that she's left-handed like her mom, Phyllis. Cool. I cannot believe you noticed that. That's so good, Tony. I have noticed in the past that Phyllis is left-handed, but I didn't see it from Summer. Wow. That's very cool. Do we have a lot of lefties in the group? Are you left-handed, Tony? Is that maybe why you cued into it? My daughter's left-handed. It's a interesting sort of rare trait. Well, okay, let's get down to what I think is probably the best story going on right now, and that's Traci, everything around Traci. Connie says, yay! Finally, we see a wise female character that isn't blinded by love or falling victim to the seductive bad guy. Traci showed intelligence and strength. The unconditional love and respect between Traci and Jack was heartwarming to see. Connie, that's perfect. That's what I was trying to say up at the top. That it's like usually you would see the girl would be trying to make the excuses, but Traci didn't waste time with any of that. She's older, wiser, she has been around the block, and she knows when something doesn't feel right. She has a gut to trust, and she trusted it. Yes, that was really a nice twist to not see her in denial about it. Russell says Traci laid out the entire theory about Alan being Martin. Either this story is going to wrap up faster than expected, or there's a new aspect that we don't see coming. It was fast, and Traci got all the way there fast. She got there faster than me. She just immediately thought, well, I saw a dead body in Paris, and if this ain't Alan, it's Martin. She got there. Dolores says, Traci broke my heart, and I'm so glad that Jack finally listened to her earnest reasoning. I'm so glad that she does not or did not try to reason away her misgivings about Alan. Yes, reasoning them away. Agreed. Sharon W. says, now that Traci told Sharon that Alan is in Paris, I believe Martin or Marlon might indeed be in Paris with Ian hatching their next deadly plan. I loved how quick Alan was to come on back to Genoa City. Jack was like, okay, I know this is a big ask. And Alan was like, yeah, no, sure, I'll be there. Like, I'll leave right now. No problemo. I'll come back to the place where there's an extradition treaty. No problemo. I'll come back to where I just fled from after committing my crime. But you think that Alan is there with Ian Ward? I mean, Y&R did Ian's eyes flipped open. Is that just Y&R trying to keep that open, the door open for later? And if so, why didn't they do the same thing with Jordan? Or were they planning to pay off the Ian Ward thing right here, right now? I don't know. But Daisy says, I'm hoping that Alan is still alive and his brother Martin has him hidden away somewhere. Even though I thought his brother had died, maybe Alan had him locked away. But at some point, Martin turned the tables, so Alan must be alive. Who else would Martin be doing all of this for? Well, I agree, Daisy. I want to believe they're both alive, that we're dealing with Martin, and Alan is still out there being held hostage. I'm so glad that you're not being held hostage, Daisy. I'm so relieved to hear from you. Like 2 weeks ago, I was panicked. I thought, well, I just think something bad happened to Daisy. Nope, just password issues. Isn't that always the way? That jumpin' jack flash. Okay, well, let's talk about Phyllis, Sharon, and their friendship. Russell says Phyllis was sleeping in her security trench coat on the couch, and then Nick aggressively badgered her. She snapped and begged for help. It's tough to see her so distraught. I love Sharon and Phyllis's talk. This is fresh and new, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with them. Her security trench coat. She's like, it's, you know what it is? And it's really beautiful. It's a state of high alert. She's in a constant state of high alert, so she didn't even bother to take her coat off. She thinks at any moment she's going to have to jump up. She's still there. I mean, that plays well. That's a really subtle cue that speaks to her frame of mind. And I agree with you. I love seeing Phyllis and Sharon, and what you're saying is that it's fresh. Can you even believe it? I mean, we've seen Phyllis and Sharon for 30 years or whatever, but this is fresh and new. Naomi says, I'm really enjoying these conversations between Sharon and Phyllis. I love that the two women are honestly sorting through their history. Yep. And Gary says, Sharon dragging Phyllis to Chancellor Park at midnight was genius. Phyllis's confession of hating cricket more than Sharon down the line was a reflective surprise. Yes, that was a nice little moment. Like, you know, as much as I hate you, maybe my true enemy is cricket. But you know, yeah, it's all so far in the past. Maybe Phyllis is gonna start coming around on all of her old enemies. I mean, she definitely accepted Diane's apology and tried to talk with Diane. Who knows, maybe Christina's next. Nah. Steven says, this escalated fast. Dump Nick, coffee, stars, martinis, smiles. Baby steps indeed. Friendship, not forgiveness, was the riddle's answer. Yeah, I think you're right. Friendship, not forgiveness. That's totally true. And it has escalated fast. But there's still a lot of reticence there. You can tell it doesn't feel forced. It feels right. It honestly feels right. Dolores says, what a study in contrast. Sharon is exhibiting her calm exterior. Phyllis and Sharon were both forced to look at their mutual disdain for each other and move past it. Yeah, I mean, it's Sharon's suddenly the one who's calm, and Phyllis is the one who's a little bit, a lot, dealing with the anxiety. I think we needed to see calm from Sharon at this point, and it's unusual to see this much distress and uncertainty from Phyllis. So you're right, it's a study in contrast. Phyllis, Naomi says, has actually faced why she's in such an emotional state of shock. She's lived to hate Sharon, but for what? Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, it's so interesting that we're actually digging into this. Wow. Well, let's see. Oh, Russell says, it's good to see Victoria. She's been around since she participated in Jordan's murder. She hasn't been around since she participated in Jordan's murder. I gotta pause there because it was so good to see Victoria this week. Did you see the hair? I mean, that hair was really coiffed and fluffed, and the hair! Can somebody tell me, how does she do that? It's dark on top, but the tips are blonder. Is it balayage? Is that what you do? Is that how you achieve that? I'm curious. You know, I'm hair dense. I don't do anything to my hair, so I can't tell when it's a wig. I can't tell when it's extensions. I can't tell when it's dyed or not. I mean, surely it's dyed. But it just looks so good. She looked so good. The eyebrows are also very dark. Victoria is without her man, though. What is going to happen once Victoria gets fully folded back in? Because I feel like we've lost Cole. And I mean, there was the job offer. I don't know what with Cole. I don't know what's going to happen with Cole, and therefore I don't know what's going to happen with Victoria. Is there room for her right now? It's a question. But Russell also says, I was not into Adam leaning all over Chelsea, making a speech about their reuniting. Yeah, I have to pause there too because, yeah, it was, I can't believe Chelsea was fine with it. I can't believe she let him traipse her up there, or maybe it was her idea, I don't know. Just to, like, I don't know, for show, for the Newmans, it didn't feel natural. But there was a mention, Connor did mention Christian, and Russell says, whenever we see Christian again, he's going to be 40 years old. I was surprised they mentioned him. When are we going to actually get Christian? It will be. It'll be as soon as he is old enough to be romantic. It'll be when Connor gets aged. That's when we'll get a Christian, and we'll get the rivalry there. Next gen. Dolores says, I've never been invested in the Billy-Sally relationship. Now it appears that Billy and Sally are not long to be together. Let the games begin. Tia Nicole says, Sally and Billy didn't have an argument by any means, but a back and forth undertone. They just aren't having a full-blown disagreement on this because they're in a new relationship. Tia Nicole, that is insightful. Because if Billy and Sally had been a little more established in their relationship, she might challenge him a little harder. He might push back a little more. It was all very polite, and I think you're right that it's almost a dance because the relationship is so new. Dang, that's a really good point. Connie says, all the kisses shared between Billy and Sally got me wondering about the makeup department. Funny what the details of our brains focus on. Yeah, it was a lot of kissing. And then she's always perfectly make-upped, so they must have to reapply at every commercial break. Robin says, I don't think it's sexy for Billy to take a bite of dinner and then kiss Sally. Yeah, ew. That is pretty gross. Keep your spit off of me. Keep that food spit off of me. Ew. Daisy also says, I like this continued speculation. I wonder if Aristotle Dumas is Tucker McCall. Because Tucker may also be angry at Devon and might go after his company. Daisy, that's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, that if somebody's going after Winters, it should be Tucker. I don't know. The thing is, let me say this. Let's get to a new segment here. Let's get to Gary's phone says, because Gary has a different theory on who Aristotle Dumas might really be. Gary's phone says Kane Ashby, Daniel Goddard just got a haircut and hints that he's returning to Genoa City as Aristotle Dumas to reunite with Lily. There's a scoop and a spoiler for ya. Allie was once completely taken with Ashby before the new Dr. Nate came knocking. Wonder what she's feeling now. And according to the phone, it's kind of a tease by Goddard, who will have more to share later. That is to say, how will Allie react when she comes face to face with Kane Ashby again? Well, first of all, I have to say, I love the segment of Gary's phone says. It's my official favorite. It's my official favorite non-official Y&R Chat segment. And I needed to see this because you're right. Daniel Goddard is hot. So I had to find whatever he posted. And immediately it was with a picture, and it was a great picture of him. And I had to take a moment to remember how dang good looking he is. But then I looked at the text and I looked at the text of his post, and it's vague. It just says something new to announce soon. I don't believe it's going to be Kane. I really don't. Because, first of all, we have this guy, Billy Flynn, who's coming over from Days of Our Lives. And I heard he's going to be Aristotle Dumas' son. So it's possible, I guess, that Kane could still be Aristotle Dumas. But it feels like it should be, if Billy Flynn's going to be the son, it feels like it's got to be somebody older. I love the twist of it being Kane. That would be amazing. That would be something for really to put Lily right in the spotlight. It would put me right in the spotlight. How could I choose? Kane, Nate. Kane, Nate. It would be difficult for me, but oh so satisfying. But at the same time, I just don't think it's it. I feel like it's the Billy Flynn is going to be what we're going to get. And I think Kane's probably, who knows, going to go to Days of Our Lives, or he's announcing some other kind of project. I just don't buy it. I love the segment, Gary, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. Naomi's hoping for it, though. She says, I've been begging for the writers to bring him back. Kane Ashby meet Damian Kane. Surely they know each other. I mean, it would be a good twist, but something in me is just not holding out hope. Real quick, let's take a look at last week's poll results. I forgot to mention the poll on the podcast video last week, but I did ask you if you guys think it's time for Nick and Sharon to give it another try. 63% say yes. So the majority of Y&R Chat is still pulling for a chic reunion. Tony says, I still think Nick and Sharon is forced. So to please fans like Allie who would like to see them back together. Yeah, I mean, probably, Tony, probably. I think that there is a forced element to it. It would be nice if it was a little more natural. Steven says, I voted no. Focus on the burgeoning Sharon-Phyllis partnership becoming a team. Cassidy first. Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, you know what? Why does Phyllis even need Billy then in his drama? She could go work with Sharon. Is that possible? The Phyllis could go work with Sharon? Well, Marianne V says, yes, Nick and Sharon should give it another try being together. They're still friends and still love each other. Yeah, but I mean, I actually really think Tony does have a point, though, that it does feel a little forced. I want a really organic floating back together for Nick and Sharon in 2025. I hope that's the case. Well, Sherrod says, I want to know how the chatters felt about the opening credits of Jermaine Rivers, Damian, and Haley Aaron, Claire. Yeah, did you guys see that they got added to the credits? Sherrod says, I was wondering why it took Haley Aaron and others at least a year to get their opening credit photo, but Rivers, who debuted February 3rd, is already in the opening credits. Well, it turns out that he's close to Eric Braeden. They worked on a movie called Den of Thieves, directed by Eric Braeden's son. So I guess it's good to know the boss. Ooh, Sherrod always with the backstage, all the backstage gossip. So, oh, that's interesting. I did hear of Den of Thieves. I saw in the Wildfire video with Eric Braeden. He was wearing like this leather jacket that was branded for the movie. So wait a minute. Jermaine Rivers is in Den of Thieves? Okay, wow. And so, yeah, there's a connection there. Interesting. I was wondering how we ended up with this Jermaine Rivers. They did bring him on and build some heck of a story around him. And I think Cole got booted because of it. That's my theory. But he is good. I mean, he is good. But yeah. I wonder how everybody did feel about those the new opening credits, if you got a chance to see them. And Sherrod, I wonder how you feel about Tessa's new blonde hair. Astra says, has it always been this blonde or is this new? When I saw her talking to Daniel for a second, I thought she was a new character. Yeah, same. I was wondering that too. Like the second she came onto the screen, I thought, do I know this person? Who is this? And then Daniel called her Blondie, which was sort of cute. But I don't know about this. It's a major change. I definitely did not recognize her at first. And I remember when she first came onto the show, her hair was practically jet black. It was Joan Jet black, and now she's blonde. It takes some work to go from dark to that light, I would think. But it certainly is notable, and I wonder if we should speculate that her new hair color is signaling some kind of bigger internal change for her character, perhaps an attraction to Daniel. We did a poll back in, I think, January or February, where I asked you guys if you thought there was going to be a romance for these two, and it was a yes. The majority of chatters thought that that was going to happen. So maybe we're here. Maybe the hair is just a sign that we're going to be moving full steam ahead on that romance. Problem is, I mean, Daniel and Tessa, only one of them is single. Okay, everybody. That feels like a well-rounded Y&R chat, I would say. I hope you guys had a good time. Hope you enjoyed it. Why not go to yrchat.com? Keep the chat going. Why not go to GenoaCitySoap.com? Pick up another podcast. There's lots of stuff to do, even though I'm done here. We're done here for today. But I will be back next Sunday, and I hope you join me again. I love you guys. I will see you next time. Bye!